All right, from on this, let's bring in Congressman Chip Roy. He sits on the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, good to see you. I just want to get your overall perspective of what happened today, that we had over 80 Republicans vote to make sure that we don't have a warrant requirement for the American citizenry. Dagan and I both find this, like you, absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, Sean, don't you miss it here? It's kind of a crazy place.
I don't.
Look, first of all, I don't trust the intelligence community, nor do my constituents. We saw the rampant abuses against the former president. We saw rampant abuses of the FBI against Catholics, because the FBI going after against pro-life people expressing their views. We are deeply frustrated with the amount of power the government is being used against the American people. So in this context, we believed that, sure, if you want to reauthorize FISA, then reauthorize it in its very narrow purpose to focus on foreign intelligence gathering. That's the limited scope it's supposed to focus on. But they scoop in all of the information and correspondence of Americans to these individuals. Then they search it with reckless abandon. They go around and they fish. Then they can use that against Americans. So we just said Americans deserve a warrant protection. Guess what? We got 212 votes against it. That means it failed. But that was a big number. We sent a shockwave across the system. And earlier this week, when we objected to the rule, which was, a big deal here, as you know, Sean, we were able to stop it from being 5 years. I disagree with Marjorie. I think she's been great on this. But on this, I think a 2-year reauthorization is a lot better than 5, because we'll have another bite at the apple. But we should have passed the warrant. And the last point Chad mentioned, we actually froze this from proceeding to the Senate until Monday. So for the next 72 hours, every member of Congress, particularly Republicans, are going to have to answer their constituents why they're going to advance a bill to the Senate that doesn't protect them from warrantless searches.
There were 86 Republicans who voted against requiring warrants to essentially spy on Americans' data. 86 of them. So every single one of them is going to have to answer to their constituents. And there were 84 Democrats who voted with the Republicans. Yeah. So, Congressman, 2 years, President Trump actually mentioned that just a short while ago when he was down at Mar-a-Lago talking about that. One of the pushbacks that we heard was, if you require warrants to spy on Americans, we're going to need 2,000 or more judges. Pushback.
Yeah, that's very frustrating, okay? Here's the deal. The reality is by their own admission, the intelligence community, you narrow it down through the metadata, they would only target about 1% to 2% of all of those individuals and the people that they're looking at. What does that mean? It means that it wouldn't possibly be 2,000 judges. The fact is, what they really want to do is be able to fish. That's the point. They want to look across all that data, scoop up that data, and then go find where it leads. Now, look, I'm a former federal prosecutor. If, I wanted to go try to get bad guys, I'd love to know what's on everybody's phone. I'd love to be able to look at anybody's car. I'd be able to go look at whatever they've got. But we have a Fourth Amendment for a reason, because the kings were abusing their power. So our founders said, wait, you got to have a protection against that. We should be protecting that with every ounce of our being. Those 86 Republicans should be ashamed of themselves. I say that without, any apology. And I hope every one of the constituents out there, let your members of Congress know before we come back on Monday and we have to vote again. Don't let them hide behind that stuff. You don't need 2,000 judges. That is a false statement. The fact is, we would have a small number of people. We'd be able to go through a handful of judges. And by the way, they just spent $200 million on a new FBI headquarters. You can't create a new SCIF in like 20 courthouses across the country so that we can protect our constitutional liberties. I think you can.
So, having served in Congress, I'm well aware that in every congressional office, you have cable television. And you also get newspapers from all of the biggest publishers in the country. And you have radio and you have internet in your offices. And the fact that Republicans wouldn't understand after Russia collusion, after they've targeted pro-life Catholics, after they've targeted people who go to school board meetings expressing their concern about transgenderism, that they would put faith in our intelligence community to protect the American citizenry is absolutely obscene. We should have no faith, no trust. The yank of their choke chain should be pulled.
Yeah, look, I agree, Sean. I mean, I do want to try to focus on the positive here, right? Which is we were able to shrink it to 2 years instead of 5. That's a big deal.
Yes.
We actually got some good reforms in the base text, and we were able to get another vote on Warren Davidson's amendment to stop the Fourth Amendment for sale, so we can actually try to stop the sale of Americans' data. That was all a part of the agreement in order just to proceed. We thought we might be able to win the amendment. We came up short by 1 vote, and by the way, that means every single Republican who voted for it, they own it. And that, from the Speaker on the House on down, they all voted for it, and it failed by 1 vote. It was a tie. So the bottom line is the American people want us to protect their civil liberties. Let that be known by Monday. We'll see what happens between now and here in the Senate, and then we'll be able to, in 2 years, if it does clear the Senate, we'll be able to have this fight again, hopefully with a Trump administration rather than a Biden administration.
Right. Congressman Chip Roy, I will quote from you. We're supposed to accept that the government should search Americans' data with no warrant, the same government who dumped a terrorist onto our streets who was in this country illegally, and it took the FBI almost a year to notify ICE that, whoops, there's a terrorist in this country. We're supposed to trust them. Congressman Chip Roy, thank you so much.
Thanks, Dagan. God bless.
God bless.
Good work. All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.